Please be advised.
Spoiler alert episode. Spoiler.
Please be advised. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes spoiler app? What are you?
Yep.
What are you fucking kidding me?
No, we're really going to do it.
We're gonna
No, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
43 seconds?
Yeah.
All right.
No, we're all set. We're doing this one.
Well, you guys, yes, Chris's phone is ringing.
That's not the phone. That's the printer.
The printer?
The printer is ringing because it's an all-in-one.
Because you still send faxes.
Because I still send faxes. Yeah, to Amazon.
To Amazon. There's one other company that takes faxes. There's like... Remember we went through this with Amazon? We're like, what
It was so ridiculous.
What year is
Yeah.
this? You're a technology company.
And you had it. Well, what? Can I just scan it and email? No, it has to be a fax.
Anyway. That was Chris's
Printer. Yeah.
Talking to a CB radio.
Because of Amazon. I have to leave it connected.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spoiler Ep number 19, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. If you are new to the Spoiler Eps, we are going to divulge everything in this film, the ending.
Yes, and we'll probably start with the ending.
We'll probably start with the ending. So this is a fair warning. If you
haven't seen the movie yet,
you're going to hear all you would possibly want to know about this film now. So this is your last chance. Thank you, everybody who enjoyed the Transformers spoiler.
Yes.
We put a lot of time and effort into that.
It was really, it was a labor of love. It was.
That was fun. All right, so... I have...
Well, at first I want to say that I really enjoyed this movie.
Yes.
I thought it was really amazing. And one of the things I want to say, too, is that you need to see it on the big screen. It's one of those big screen movies, and for an interesting reason. Not just because of the action, which is still good, and the effects are good, but because of the leaps forward that motion capture technology has taken, and you can really experience it on the big screen when you see the faces of the apes and the way the effects integrate with the actors underneath them is nothing I've ever seen before to this degree. It's way past Gollum. It's way past everything we've seen before, and it's really, you got to experience that on a big screen.
It is... There was only a handful of moments where I was like, oh, that's CG.
Right.
The rest of the time I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And the actors that were actually... Kerry Russell and that were being human. I was like, because that was always. I remember when the Phantom Menace, the first prequel, came out.
Oh yeah,
and was so, and like the eye lines, you could tell they weren't looking at anything.
Right.
They were staring at some weird stick or green screen.
It was sloppy. It was surprisingly sloppy.
So sloppy.
And it was George Lucas's insistence on shooting on digital without really. Caring about what it would look like. It ended up looking like a video,
right,
with different layers on it, right. And this, we've come a long way since then.
So that is, I totally agree. I saw it in 2D. I don't know that you need to see it in 3D. No,
I saw it in 2D too. You're not going to lose anything.
But you got to see it on a big screen,
yeah,
for sure. Like watching this on a smaller screen down the road, I think you're missing out.
Right, I agree.
Overall, I liked it too.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out, it was a couple years ago. I was like, oh wow! I was kind of like, this is going to be dumb.
It was
good.
It was better than you thought it would be.
It was better than we thought, and I remember we talked about how much,
because this looks like a classic money grab. It really does.
Yeah.
It just dig something up, re-release it, remake it, and throw it in just to make a little bit of money. But it wasn't. I mean, they really spent time to craft both these movies. I think this one even more so than the first.
Well, for sure. And the thing I liked about Rise was we all went, oh wow, they really explained how we got to the original movies, and they're staying sort of true to that, which is, I'm obviously the original Planet of the Apes. As I've said before, I think it's amazing social commentary.
Yes.
I think, it was written by Rod Serling, who, did the Twilight Zone, and that TV show was all about social commentary.
Yes.
And he hit it.
He had to. They wouldn't have greenlit the show.
And he's, it's just fun, crazy science fiction. And he had all these really subversive things in there. And so the original Planet of the Apes was like, it dealt with basically the failing of the human race, its greed, its power, racism, all this stuff. Right. And so
caste systems.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Slavery,
materialism, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So then, that's where I'm personally coming from when I'm watching Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Right. Because the issue that the challenge rather is the history of what happens has already been written when you're doing a prequel. Right.
There's an end point that these movies are never going to get to, which is the beginning of the first movies. And what's fascinating too is it's a rather large challenge. Mm-hmm. It's whenever you do a prequel, but this is very specific where it's this is a different period in time before all of this actually happens. So you know what your endpoint is, but how do you make a compelling story within this framework? And that's what I thought this movie did beautifully, because I'm 3/4 of the way into the movie. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how this is going to end.
Right.
Because any of these characters could die. Any of them could survive. Humans or apes could win the battle. And will it matter? Because we have this endpoint far down the road. And they did it in a way that made it compelling. Like, oh, well, now I want to see how this ends because I don't know how it ends.
Well, I'll say the beginning, the opening credits, they did a great job of, because this movie takes place 10 years down the road from Rise.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they basically, in the opening credits, I loved how they explained how
humanity's on decline.
The virus spreads, and they did it with the cool map thing.
Right.
And then news stories of like, oh, avian flu, and then quarantines and war and rioting, and you basically see the human race turn on itself when society collapses.
Yes. Which will happen.
Which will happen. I have no faith in the human race. Just read some Facebook posts.
Yeah.
Of anyone. So they explain that really well. And so then they bring you right to
what's going on now.
What's going on now with the apes.
Right.
The apes have set up this complete society, this culture, and you see the simian law that they got from the originals, which is ape shall not kill another ape.
And you know what's interesting? Also, there's some parallels from Animal Farm here too. Mm-hmm. If you look at like when the animals would paint the rules on the side of the barn, and then eventually they get broken.
Right. So the movie, I would say the first 2/3 of the film for me were like, this is really intense. Every scene I was like, holy shit, I was literally like tense, physically tense in my seat.
Because you don't know what's going to happen, and because it could go either way. And also, the thing that's great that creates a lot of that tension too is you're not really sure who to root for. Like, you're like, well, wait a minute. I mean, there's, you kind of want the humans to survive, but not if they're kind of assholes. I mean, the way it mixes the morality of ape, human, and good human, bad human, good ape, bad ape, I thought was really interesting and compelling. So, and I love the fact that when Caesar is talking about, we always wanted ourselves to be better than humans, and turns out we're a lot more like them than we thought.
Here's where, okay. This is where, and I don't know that I have an answer in my head yet, where I started to feel like, man, I don't know if this movie's as great as I think it is.
Okay.
Because, and again, the ending of the original Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston, this great Dr. Zaius goes, be careful, Taylor, you might not like what you find. And he's riding his horse down the beach, and he sees the Statue of Liberty.
Yes.
And it dawns on him what actually happened. There was some kind of an atomic blast or something that, and he's on the beach going, you maniacs, you finally did it. God damn you.
Blew it all up.
You blew it all up. God damn you all to hell. And it's like, oh, the humans ruined it.
Right.
So that's where I know the history is.
Yes.
So then when Koba, the like second in command to Caesar, starts disagreeing with Caesar and starts basically going out on his own, that's where I was like, man, because to me it was like, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm trying to justify here, like, then Koba steals a gun. He starts killing human beings.
Yes.
And going crazy out on his own. And they establish this thing where he has such loyalty to Caesar. And he literally, when he first disagrees with him, and Caesar's like, "Hey man, no."
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Look, you got me out of
right.
prison, basically, because he was a quote unquote scientific animal who was tortured."
Yeah.
And he's like,
by Maybelline.
By Maybelline. Yeah, let's hope it's Maybelline or some sort of Kardashian-based product. So he says, Caesar, I'll do whatever you want to do. I just don't trust humans at all, because there's that great scene where he goes, Caesar's like, humans aren't all bad.
Right.
And Koba goes, "Oh, really? Humans did this." And he points to all of his torture scars where they, quote unquote, tested him. So when Koba kind of decides, "Oh, fuck this, I'm going to go off the ranch," and then steals the gun and then shoots Caesar to make it seem like the humans did it, to get the whole ape camp ready for war, because Caesar's trying to avoid a war, because he's like, a war is going to be bad.
Right.
That's where I was like...
Well, let me try to put that in a little bit of perspective. I bought it, and here's why. Because I think the way Koba was looking at it is that humans are all evil. There's no redeeming. There are no good humans. Caesar is wrong.
Right. When he goes to the camp and sees that they have this huge cache of arms,
right,
rockets and machine guns,
and that clinches it. Clinches it. They're gonna kill us all. So what he looks at it as that Caesar is no longer an ape. He can no longer protect these people. If Caesar is still in charge, we're all going to be slaughtered. So he was looking at it from the perspective of that if I don't do something, we're all going to get wiped out. It's us or them. And that's a very imperialistic attitude to have. And I think the metaphors and parallels underneath where this is a human nature trait. We're going to be
that
motivated
he learned by humans by them torturing him.
Yes, or just also observing them, like, oh, they're gearing up. They say they're nice, but they're gearing up for war. It's us or them. That's it. And if this ape in charge, Caesar, doesn't see that, he's going to get us all killed. So the only way I can save the apes is through power and to get rid of him, so I can actually save them. And then, of course, you have the dictatorship aspects and stuff like, well, I want to be in power and all that stuff too. So I think it was a mix of those things, which is very human behavior, and I think that was the parallel the filmmakers were trying to show.
Yeah, and that's where my first reaction was, oh man, bullshit. And then I was like, no, I was trying to think of it more in the profound terms, because the way Koba tricks the humans catch him and they're like, "What are you doing?" So he just acts like
a normal ape.
Well, he acts like a
circus
monkey and starts doing tricks in them, and then that's how the second time he sees them, how he gets the gun and kills them.
Right.
And then when Koba got to power and was locking up Caesar sympathizers, and
then you see the parallel of absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I guess. And I'm trying to think, well, and then I was like, well, wait a minute, did they do this in the original Planet of the Apes? But then, in the original Planet of the Apes, the military, the gorillas were the military,
right?
And they had guns,
right?
And they were about whipping and torturing humans and shooting them and just hunting them down, like
us or them. There's no good human. Unless it's a slave.
Yeah, and they said they would say that the only good human is a dead human,
right? Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, you're right. Actually, the filmmakers did take a lot of care in connecting that.
Yes.
In getting us to that world. And so then I started to go where I really like that. And then the end of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So Caesar's not dead.
Right. And I honestly thought too, oh, well, he's dead. He's not going to come back. He came back. That's an interesting twist.
You're right. They did a great thing. I thought, oh, this is his son is going to have to decide.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. He's going to take over and he's going to have to avenge him. But no, and then they find him. Oh, he's still alive.
He finds him, and the humans who by the way, Jason Clarke and Kerry Russell are the two sort of main. They're like a couple, and they're like scientists, and they're trying to rebuild this.
Yes.
Gary Oldman is sort of the they do it very subtly, but Gary Oldman, he's going through old photos at one point, and he was in the military.
Yes.
So he's like a military officer, and he's like, well, he has this encampment in San Francisco of humans that he's in charge of.
Right.
And he has a very Koba-esque view of the apes. Fuck them.
Right.
You know?
Now, I will say this is one of the things that didn't I mean, I'm going to get a little nitpicky here, but one of the things I noticed was there was more nuances on the acting of the apes than sometimes there were of the humans. Like, so much care was given to emote and the nuances of the different ape acting that I think sometimes the human acting was a little bit of an afterthought. Because one example is Gary Oldman's character. You could see the way he was being set up is he's a military leader. He's in charge of this camp, and he's doing his best. He wants humanity to survive. There's no, he's insurmountable odds to try to get this.
They're trying to
going.
find the whole the interaction with the humans, because he sends out a team to find a dam.
Right.
That's just outside of San Francisco because they're running out of fuel for the generators, and if they can get the dam online, they can have electricity.
And I could see a scared guy shooting one of the apes. Absolutely. I bought that. But now with Gary Oldman, when they all came down with horses and guns and pretty much told them, don't come back, Gary Oldman should have at that point thought, okay, well, they're obviously more than just animals. We have to, figure this out. And then later in the movie, when they're setting the charges on the tower, it was an explosion of like, they're just animals. I'm like, no, you saw them ride horses and shoot guns. They're not just animals. And this was a great opportunity I think was missed to kind of nuance it a little bit and maybe foreshadow the other movies. And like maybe the scientist guy says they're not just animals. And Gary Oldman's like, of course they're not just animals. That's why they're so dangerous. Like, to kind of foreshadow what might happen. And he goes, you may be right. Maybe some of them are good. It doesn't matter. We got to blow them to hell anyway if the human race is about to survive. Right. So they kind of took a shorter, quicker way out that they didn't have to. They could have nuanced Gary Oldman's character a little bit more. Like, he even gave them a couple of days. All right, try to talk to the apes and get the dam back online. So he was open to the fact that at some point, maybe there was some kind of peace to be made. But that's fine. He could have gotten to the end of like, I need to blow them up anyway. But not that they're just animals. No, they're super intelligent. They're incredibly dangerous. And I don't care if a few of them are nice. They got to go.
I wonder if it wasn't that they didn't spend the time on it, as they just wanted to say, well, basically the humans were the problem. We caused all this shit.
Could be, sure.
So we're only going
these are creative decisions. I don't think they're necessarily, did anything right or wrong.
Yeah. And maybe they just said, you know what, we're just going to make Gary Oldman the hard-ass survivalist.
Right.
This is the, I almost feel like, I guess my question is, I don't know that it was something they forgot or oversaw.
Right.
I think that
they made the choice.
They made the choice,
yeah.
and I agree with you. I think that subtle choice would have been a little better, but they just decided to say, well, he's ex-military, he's got weapons, his job is to protect these people, and he's going at it just like a military officer probably would, of just like, well, I got to protect this, and this is what I'm going to do. The thing that I really liked, the subtle ways they did the backstory of, like, Jason Clarke had obviously lost his wife.
Yes.
And maybe another child, if I can remember correctly. And Kerry Russell, they were sort of like dating now, and so
Kerry Russell had lost a child.
Kerry Russell had lost a child, and Jason Clarke had lost his wife.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Jason Clarke had a son who appeared to be about 18 or 19 or something like that, or 16 maybe, whatever. And so that was an interesting dynamic, and how they were sort of like scientists who thought this was amazing. And the depiction of the humans in the town or whatever, that they just flip out and just act like lunatics.
Right.
Part of me is like, oh, would they really? And then part of me is like, yeah, they probably would, man. Like, you're
being invaded by machine gun toting apes on horseback.
Talk.
Yeah, who talk. Yeah, you're gonna be.
Some people
scared.
Some people are gonna lose their fucking shit.
Yeah,
yeah. So I really like that, and I want to get back now to the ending. So Caesar, they find him. Taylor, Jason Clarke, and Kerry Russell find Caesar.
Yes.
And she's a physician.
And heals him.
Heals him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's starting to get healed, and they realize Caesar is the only one that can prevent this war from happening.
Right.
And Caesar says something that actually helped explain some of my what? He was like, apes go for the strongest branch, meaning they're still pack animals, and it's all about strength.
Yeah.
Like the strongest one becomes in charge. And if one isn't strong, then everybody...
They get challenged.
And so that's what was happening. So he realized, I need to be strong enough. And so then he comes back and tells Koba, and in front of most of the apes there, Koba shot me. And Koba's just like, at this point, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've had this cool fight, actually, which is a pretty awesome
on the tower.
fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the tower goes down.
Then the tower goes down, and Koba then is hanging, of course, from whatever rebar or something, and Caesar goes down to help him and you're like, oh, of course Caesar's going to save him because that's who he is, and he adheres to ape law strictly. And even Koba says, ape cannot kill another ape. Mm-hmm. And then he says, you're not an ape, and drops him.
Right.
I was torn about that.
Okay, I can understand that.
Part of me, again, it's all the things I've been talking about. Like, well, is that bullshit, or is everyone going to lose respect for Caesar now because he's breaking the law, or is it like, I don't know. Like, it felt to me like he should have been. I'm the better person or better species here,
right? And
I'm going to rise above this. But then, do I have to kill Koba because, I got to show I need a sign of strength,
right? Yeah, that's a writer dilemma. It really is, because you're not really sure how could you proceed. I'm sure there was different takes on that scene in different drafts, because one of the things you could go back to and saying, well, once he shot another ape, then it's, you could argue that, okay, well, he's no longer an ape. He's acting like the human. So now he can be killed. But then you also have a, like you were just saying, well, wait, but if I kill him, then I'm no better than what he just did. Right. So you have, like you said, you have this moral dilemma. And I think it was a cleaner way to kind of get to the end of the movie. I don't know, if you did save him and then you put him in a cage. I mean, you could have done that too. But you also have something interesting when you look at it on the long story. Like, well, is this also how the apes become more human by breaking their own laws and then eventually taking over too? So you also you could kind of foreshadow that too. Like, they pretend to be this more noble species, but they're doing the same things we are too. Even the most noble,
which happens in the original Planet of the Apes. That courtroom scene where they're just sort of
exactly so
politics and hypocrisy, and Zaius is hiding stuff because he doesn't want people to know, and
like, oh, well, you're in a row, you're the leader, you got to break the rules sometimes, it's
I got to do what's best.
I got to do what's best for everybody, even if it means breaking one of these rules that I created.
If you look at like Caesar, Koba, and even Gary Oldman, all then do things to justify.
Yes,
I have to protect these people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And Gary Oldman, is doing the best he can. Koba then goes shit nuts and is drunk with power. Mm-hmm. And Caesar is the more noble of the three.
Yeah. And this brings it back to the point where this was a far more complex movie than anyone was expecting it to be. And this is a very good thing. I mean, this is it's still a summer movie. It's still summer, popcorn entertainment. But it once again proves, like Captain America, you could have a great, fun, action-packed science fiction movie that actually is well-crafted and well-written, well-acted, and well-directed.
And also, it stays... Oh, sorry.
Oh, is that my printer? Oh, no, it's your cell phone.
My cell phone is calling you and asking you to fax something. So well, the other thing too is it keeps, because I remember seeing the original Planet of the Apes movie when I was a child, and I didn't get any of the social commentary. I was like,
you
crazy
don't.
sci-fi. They're battling apes. And
exactly.
nuts.
Then there was a TV show, too.
Sure, I watched all of it. There was a TV show, and it was all crazy. But this movie then does a good job of staying true to the social commentary. You know what I mean? It because it has all of these themes and tones and in it that you don't...
Right.
You know, you look at the trailer or whatever, the movie poster, and it's just like, ape war. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Ape battle. You know what I mean? It's the future. We all got to fight, you know? And
it's like Starship Troopers.
Exactly. Like Starship. You think it's going to be that, Starship Troopers, and it isn't. And like, again, I go back to the original where when Charlton Heston discovers that ape mythology and ape science is all nonsense. And Dr. Zaius goes, yeah, I know. And he lists off, humans, you guys are the worst. You kill your own crops. You kill your own people. You fight over nothing. He goes, I can't have you. You're bad. And even Taylor's arrogance of, man was here before you, Dr. Zaius, and he was better than you. And it's like, no, he wasn't. He was good at designing technology and also designing weapons of killing mass people. And so I think it does that, and
technically, were men there before apes?
Yeah,
on the Earth?
Nope. Apes were first, and then they became men and were assholes.
Yeah.
And really, if you look at it, the overriding theme is that the human race is just a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
with a few exceptions.
Now, this will be really interesting where this franchise goes from here, because, like we were talking about, there is an end point. However, if this franchise gets very creative, they could start doing stories on the other side of those movies, too.
Well, if you look at the actual timeline, the original Planet of the Apes takes place something like 500-600 years.
I mean, you could ignore the Planet of the Apes sequels. You just...
ignore the sequels, where they meet that weird underground...
Yeah, the bunker thing.
Yeah.
Looked like it was shot in 10 days and for $40.
Yeah, the ones... Let me go. All right. The original one, Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowall. So
I forgot Roddy McDowall was in that.
Oh, Roddy McDowall is amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in that thing. So Roddy McDowall plays Cornelius. And literally it takes place a distant future. I mean, if you look at the timeline, it's something like, I forget in the film, they're a couple hundred years in the future. So really, these movies, this current franchise, has a lot of room to play with.
Sure, it could go in either direction. I mean, now that we're getting a bunch of prequels, why don't we get a couple that are on the other side now? What happens after the original Planet of the Apes movie?
Right, and erase those dumb sequels.
You can ignore those.
Just keep the original one.
You could retcon them out. Like, is there a story where humanity gains control of the planet again?
Right. Mm-hmm. Does Taylor unify the whatever?
Right.
But I don't know, because they left at the end of the movie. There's this great scene because before Gary Oldman blows himself up, he says, we got a hold of people in the north. There's an army and military, and they're coming down here.
Right.
So it's like, here we go. And Caesar says this great line. He goes, apes started this war. Man does not forgive.
Right.
And I feel like that's where the next movie picks up, is the apes now have a lot of armor.
Yeah,
because they've overtaken the Gary Oldman camp,
and they have an armory. They know
armory.
how to use it. Mm-hmm.
So now, is this, this whatever battalion or whatever coming in from up north? There's just going to be this battle in San Francisco that just is?
Yeah, it's going to be Ape Hawk Down.
Yes, Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Full Metal Monkey.
Saving Private Simeon. We're could probably do this all day.
We could, yeah. Maybe we should stop.
No.
The Bananas of Navarone.
I was sitting there trying to think of one. I was racking my brain. The Bananas of Navarone. Oh, God. Hashtag Ape War.
Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely where the franchise could go from there. But yeah, this was like I said, this is a franchise that just was in a hole. It had to win you over, and it did. I'm looking forward to the next one.
And a different director than the first one.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a really good plan. Every installment have a different director.
Right.
Like no matter how good this one was, which it was, I don't care. New director.
Yeah. And sort of what they've been doing with the Iron Man and Avengers movies is having different directors come in and say, I'm going to make this my thing.
Right.
Using these elements, not changing the history or whatever.
And you guys can put it into the bigger picture.
Yeah, and you guys fit into the bigger, because this was just like, there were so many scenes where they bring the Taylor, they bring Jason Clarke's character into the camp. Into the ape. I mean, where do you? And they're all just staring at him.
Yeah,
and just like, I was like,
they're gonna murder him.
This guy. It's gonna be brutal how they murder this guy. I think this film, I really liked it. And if you liked Rise,
and go see it in the theater if you can.
Yeah, I think you'll like this guy. So, yeah, guys, another spoiler up for you. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much. Of course. Los Angeles Podcast Festival, September 26th to the 28th. Discounted hotel rooms and tickets are at lapodfest.com. We're starting to put the lineups up of who's going to be. It's looking good. Yeah, it's definitely looking good. And we've got we've got some special things this time too. There's going to be more parties, more food, more drink. It's at a new hotel. It's going to be really, really fun. The Sofitel Hotel, by the way, if you're not familiar with LA, is you're walking distance to any kind of food you want. Yes, everything is there. You're not locked into the hotel. You're not locked in. There's a mall across the street that has any kind of store and food you want. There's every kind of food, from like fast food that's cheap to nice high-end restaurants and everything in between. Yep, there's even a Grand Lux if you like a Cheesecake Factory. That's there too. It's going to be awesome. There's a P.F. Chang's. There's everything. I forgot. There's a P.F. Chang's. There really is everything there. There's a Jamba Juice, which I'm going to go to every day. So it's going to be great. So check that out, you guys. And thank you so much for listening. Anything else to? There's just one other thing. We wanted to say, too, we do have Dana Gould's T-shirts for sale, and we are filling those orders. You will be getting them very shortly, and the response has been overwhelming. It's been great, so we are getting them filled as soon as possible. So welcome to any Dana Gould fans. Yes. Thanks for listening. And supporting the store. Guys. Very cool. And, of course, earbuds. Yeah, we're working on everything right now. Yeah, it's going great. So the footage is great. You can pre-order copies of that if you want, DVD or download. And we will be shooting at the festival, too. That's our last week of shooting is actually at the festival. Because Sanai is coming. Yes. And Aaron and Vanessa. In fact, some fans have been tweeting and saying, look, I'm coming down, but I want to tell my story. Are you still interviewing? And we'll do some of that. We'll definitely have some probably in the Squarespace lab. Yeah. We'll have a couple more opportunities for you guys to get interviewed. And so we're looking forward to everything. It's been a big year. It's been a big year, man. It's been a very, very Now we got to bring it all home. We are going to bring it home, baby. Festival. Cross that end zone. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening. My name is Graham Elwood. And I'm Chris Mancini. And as always, remember, Han shot first. Bridge over the river chimp. Ape. That's Tora, if anyone's wondering.